Game over. It is game over.
Game over, cancer. I'm Val Solomon, Director of Program Impact at Cannonball Kids Cancer Foundation.
And I'm Dana Nichols, Executive Director of CKC.
Game Over Cancer, a podcast dedicated to exploring conversations about pediatric cancer research, solutions, and inspiring family stories.
We're a nonprofit dedicated to creating innovative treatment options for kids fighting cancer and educating for change.
By creating a space for these conversations, we empower the community to take action and provide tangible hope.
Game over, cancer. Screw you, cancer. Welcome, everybody, to Game Over Cancer. Today's episode is awesome because it's with one of our favorite people, Bob Szafranski, and it's really about just doing the next right thing. I think when we have a giant mission and a task in front of us, like curing cancer, it seems impossible, and you can feel like you don't have enough to make an impact. But I will tell you, after hearing today, I believe everyone will know that you don't have to be the person who can name a building after yourself in order to make a huge impact. And we've learned so much from Bob. We love that we get to share this story today. So who is Bob Szafranski, though?
That's right. Bob is not naming buildings after himself, but he is building the buildings. Bob Szafranski is a construction industry veteran in Central Florida. More importantly, though, he's dad to Sarah, who lost her fight against cancer more than 20 years ago. Before she died, 16-year-old Sarah made Bob promise to change the way we treat cancer for kids after her. And so we've been fortunate to be able to get to know Bob, get to know Sarah through his stories. And now we're super excited because now you get to know Bob and Sarah too. Today, Bob shares with us a little bit about how he got started fundraising for a cure and how he motivates others to join the fight. And you'll hear in his voice his dedication and his devotion and his humor. And you'll get to see why we call him the world's tallest teddy bear. I mean, he doesn't stand up, but the man is over 6 foot tall.
Yes.
And he is genuinely the most authentically caring individual that we've ever met.
Absolutely. I think you'll hear in the episode a few times us say today's about ordinary people who do extraordinary things. And that's Bob to us because he made this promise to Sarah without really any idea of how he would accomplish it. And since then has raised over $1 million and runs an annual event, Sarah's Sporting Clays Against Cancer, which we are the beneficiary of, and raises on average $100,000 a year that we put into grants.
That's right. And that money goes to, or has gone to, young investigator grants. And so actually the story about how we decided to even do a podcast comes from Bob.
Yes.
All roads lead back to Bob, apparently.
All roads.
But we were able to arrange a meeting between Bob and one of our young investigators, Dr. Joelle Strela, Dana Farber, super impressive.
Amazing.
And when we sat together with Bob and Dr. Strela and heard them speak and heard Bob's story about his promise to Sarah, we thought, gosh, more people than just us need to hear this. We need to get Bob back. We need to put him on a podcast, and you need to hear it too. So we're real thrilled.
It was one of those moments that reminds us why we do this work. Dr. Strela had been funded because of the Sarah's Clays shoot. And when we realized we were going to be able to connect them in person, we were just giddy and delighted. And then when we actually were able to bear witness to this incredible morning, which is just 1 hour coffee, people talking about the legacy of their daughter and someone who's sitting there that they've never met, working so hard to change it, and watch everyone's passions culminate into just coffee at Credo.
That's right.
It was incredible. And we thought if people could see this, people would understand the nuance and the depth of the issue and our mission and what we're working so hard towards. And honestly, that was 2 years ago. Yeah. And so for a long time, we kept saying, how do we get there? And eventually it's time for a podcast. And we're really excited. And we are excited for Bob to come on with us today. It's going to be a great one. I hope you all enjoy and listen. Like, subscribe, make sure you're sharing with a friend as well, because it's a really great episode. And I think you'll all take so much away from this incredible man and his incredible daughter. Well, hey, Bob. Thanks for joining us today. This is totally natural, calm, not weird at all. But thank you for definitely stepping outside of your comfort zone to join us and chat. We love working with you. We love everything we get to do together in Sarah's name and Sarah's legacy. So we thought we've been fortunate to hear you speak over the course of time. All of your stories about Sarah tell us how spunky and determined she was. And we thought maybe we could start with you sharing a story about her that still makes you light up when you think about it.
I shared it with Val before. It's when Sarah, we found out that Sarah term had gone, what is it called? The bone marrow transplant didn't work. And her first time back to Orlando, they told us to go in for a full review, and it ended up they did the hip whatever they check, the marrow, and she was 40% consumed. So that's when we were told that she had a certain amount of time to live. And before I went and talked to him, she told me she didn't want to know the statistics because she was a Szafranski, and Szafranskis don't go by statistics. So
stubborn.
Then, because of that, she had a list of stuff that she wanted to do. So her wish list, she gave me her wish list, and one of them was to drive a new Boxster.
Okay.
And so we had a local dealership in Orlando who offered it. They didn't tell me until I went to go pick it up that I had to sign a paper that if she scratched it, I owned it. So we did that, and then it was actually in Maitland. So we were going down the 417 back to her house, and she punched it, and I mean punched it, and so it scared the crap out of me. And I was grabbing everything to hold on, and she's got a big smile on her face. Her hair's flying everywhere. I said, "Slow down, you're going to get a ticket." Her thing was, she said, "I'll be dead before I get a ticket." and so then I said, "Okay, then slow down because I'm in the car." And so she immediately slowed down. But that's the way she, as soon as she accepted the fact that she wasn't going to make it, she pushed that. Like she would use that, and I'd come back from work with a bad day, and she goes, "Oh, really bad day, huh?" Well, I'm not going to be alive in about a month, so it's just, she was that way, and so she taught me how to live life like you're dying. So,
thank you for sharing that.
Well, that is definitely an example of
Yep.
Sarah's spunkiness.
Yes.
And we've worked together long enough now that I think I've heard a lot of the stories. And then when Bob shared that one, when we were kind of prepping for the podcast, I was like, oh, that's definitely the story we need to hear.
She had sayings all over her door, all little things like don't sweat the small stuff and whatever the thing is, but it was all over her door. Matter of fact, I think her mom saved the door somewhere, but it's got all her sayings and she would always use them, which became irritating, but she was right. That's what the problem was. She was right.
Yes.
So.
Well, not surprisingly, today's episode is all about ordinary people doing extraordinary things. And thank you for introducing us and the listeners to Sarah and how extraordinary she was and what she's inspired. And we're doing that by speaking with another extraordinary person, Bob Szafranski, today. And so I think we need to go back and tell the story a little bit about how we came to meet Bob and work with Bob through CKC.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think when you talk about Sarah, when we meet you, it is no surprise then that 20 years goes by and you are still honoring her legacy. You are still showing up wherever you can to raise money in her name and to make sure people understand that even though we've come a little bit, we haven't come far enough.
Correct.
So you had started a really cool event, and then a couple years ago, we got involved. So we are the beneficiary of Sarah's Sporting Clays Against Cancer.
And that's when it took off, is when you guys got involved. That's when it took off.
Thank you. We I don't know that we think that at all. We think, I think one of the things we talk about all the time at Cannonball is how mutually appreciative we all are, that we feel so honored to get to be part of it at all.
Mm-hmm.
So in the last couple of years, we've been the beneficiary. And I didn't know what clay shooting was before we started.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, that's a fun side question. Can I ask you how irritating it has been to explain clay shooting to several of us throughout time?
Yes.
Is it something that you ever fully get over, the little amount that we know, even after seeing the event?
No, because look at what you've done. I mean, you may not know shoot, but you know the passion of the people that do. And look at the crowd that we had last time. I mean, everyone knew why they were shooting. And there, a lot of people tell me, they say, well, I've never shot before. I said, that doesn't matter. You're not there for the shooting. You're there to meet people, network, and hear the story and support a good cause. And they will be back because one guy was walking through, he said, I haven't shot yet. He goes, all these people and all these stories. I mean, it's amazing. I love it. I mean, it's.
I love it too.
Yeah. It's an example of what we talk about a whole lot. I think it's been proven time and again in our personal experiences just working in nonprofits that there is a spot for everybody. And we don't know clay shooting, so we fully rely on you and everybody who does it, and that's their hobby. And we know the fundraising side, and so we can all work together, and everybody's got a role and a part. And when we all work together, then we are raising money. And, what better cause than, in Sarah's memory. And she was the one that was insistent on, we got to do something to change what happens for kids after me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And she, I think the clay shoot, I don't know if you realize it, but even though we started, what was it? This is number 11. Okay. The first place that we went, it was after our clay shoot there that all of a sudden everybody started doing clay shoots.
Oh, I believe that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we were their biggest attraction. And still today, I get calls from organizations who want to know how to set up a clay shoot. And it's to me, charity, if you're given to a charity, I'm not going to compete. So, if it's all a charity, but the point is, I think that we actually, if it wasn't for, I think, the Lakeland Sheriff, we were, and we'll get back there, we were the second biggest clay shoot in the state.
So how did we get to a clay shoot, though? Take us all the way back to year one. How did this even happen?
Okay, well, Kerry Shippert, who's with Gilbane, we used to shoot all the time. His father-in-law used to make the shells, pack the shells for us when we used to go out and shoot. And we would go like maybe once a month. And he just, all of a sudden, as we're walking back, he said, this is fun. I have a lot of friends who'd like to try it. They haven't done it yet, which is exactly what we're seeing. And he said, maybe we can raise some money for your daughter, as an event. And I'm not going to lie. I said, no, that's too much trouble. I said, it's just too much.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah. It's too much trouble. I had a job that I had to pay attention to, and I thought we were doing okay, raising the money separate, but just basically by me begging. And so he just said, well, then I'll do it. And I thought he was just mad. And then he came back like a month and a half later with an agreement to go into the endowment at that time. And they had asked how much he was going to make from it. And he said $1,400, $1,400 to $1,700 or something like that, because he had figured all his buddies, we'd all get together and we'd all contribute. So it was really basically a bunch of guys getting together just to help out. And we had it, and I think the first one we actually had, it ended up taking that's when we realized I was right. It's a lot of trouble. But we ended up $14,000.
Wow.
And so the organization that we were contributing to all of a sudden took it serious. And then, but I'm telling you, not anywhere near as serious as Cannibal Kids takes it. And so we struggled. That's why we had such a big volunteer group, is because we were handling everything. And every year we made a goal to we made a number we tried to beat. And every year we beat it. That is because more and more of the construction industry would rather shoot than play golf. And so we were the new thing. And so they would, matter of fact, we set it up so that there was a major organization that had a golf tournament every year. We would do it the weekend before. And so they'd bring their clients, they'd bring everybody there. So we figured out the formula.
Yeah.
And so and then it ended up, we got more participants than the golf tournaments.
Wow. Yeah.
So we knew we had something, and I got Kerry Shippert. It was his determination, and he made it happen. And then he'll always say, no, this isn't mine. I said, no, he's actually the one that instigated it. So I'm very appreciative to him, because I gave up on it before it started. And so now, and it's very successful. And thanks to you all, you do all the heavy lifting. And our part is just to figure out the little details to help support what you guys are doing. So I'm so glad you guys are involved. I mean, you really made a big difference.
We love it too. I think, one, it's just fun.
Yeah.
And everyone that you've brought to the table with it, all of the volunteers, all the people who, like you say, this was all volunteer run for a very long time. Everyone is so kind and committed and ready to do the thing they can do. That's, I think, what makes it so special, is everyone knows I can do this piece. But I think that's what's fascinating, right, is you are a person that activates a lot of people to come alongside you. And whether you will accept that praise or not. I'm
harassing on behalf of my daughter.
Right. But I think that's what you're calling it. But I think people are so inspired by what you're doing. You said it. You said people are call you still to say, how do I start a clay shoot? Right. So I think there's something about you that lets people know that there's an openness and a willingness to work together too. But what does it look like for you to get people to be part of the clay shoot?
Explain that question, because it's just,
it's
not that hard. That's why.
But I think it is. It's hard to ask people to do something. We're all busy, and it's hard to ask people for money, and it's hard to ask people for their time.
It's just like we were having a discussion before. It's not for me.
Yeah.
If it was for me, we're broke, but we do it. But it's for the charity, and it's for, and Sarah had a dream, a mission, a plan, or whatever you want to call it, and she knew she wasn't going to live, so she put that in my lap, which actually changed my life from the day that I promised, because I only promise if I'm going to do it, and so from the day we promised, so it went out of my hands. I was doing it for Sarah and the kids, for future, because that's what she wanted. She wanted a cure to cancer. Cure to cancer. All the things that she put on me, I accomplished the majority of them. There's some things that she knew I wasn't going to do, but I tried. But where it came was it's a charity. This fits. You would talk about, Sarah would have taken risks, which is the research and the stuff and the young investigators and all that you do is a risk. Yeah. And so, but you evaluate it so deep that you minimize the true impact of the risk. So there still is a risk, but the successes from those risks outweigh not taking the chance by far. And so that's the way Sarah would have been. I mean, Sarah would have taken on somebody 10 times her size if she felt she was right. So that's just this fits perfectly with what Sarah would have asked, and it took a long time to get here. Yeah. But we're here now, and that's why you're fulfilling what she would have wanted. She would have loved to be part of it, but she would have probably taken over. So it's good.
Yeah. I mean, try stopping her.
And all the people who are helping, it's funny because when they started, I guilted them into it. Then they enjoyed it. Then you all explained what you were doing with that money. Then all of a sudden they're having fun, and there's a payoff for having fun. And so they get to meet people, they have fun, and they see the benefits that you guys are showing with what you're doing in all the things that you're involved in. And that, it's like winning the lotto when you never bought a ticket. I mean, that's what they experience, so they keep coming back and they spread the word.
Well, post-event high where you share everything that you've done, that is like a real thing, right?
Yeah.
That's what keeps you going. We've got another event coming up in this next week, and so we're in the last stages.
And you're sold out.
Yes,
Yeah.
and we're sold out.
And you sold out early.
Yeah, and so there's always, we talked about this recently, there's always like, especially the 2 weeks before the event, where you're just like, is all this work we did and all the choices we made, did we make the right choices? Is everything going to play out? And then you're there, you're with the crowd, you see everybody, you're at the clay shoot, you see everybody networking and having fun, and they're talking about coming back the following year, and this is the most fun. And I think that most interesting thing, and I'm so glad that you just illustrated it for us, there's this shift that I felt over the last 10, 15 years in nonprofit, where donors, I think, have this interpretation of what volunteering or donating looks like. And it's always going to, even if I don't golf or don't like it, going to the golf tournament because it's there, or participating in one more thing. And I think what we try to talk with people, we call it party with a purpose, but we're just trying to find out, what are you already doing? Excuse me. So you like to clay shoot? You already doing that with your friends? Cool. That's a fundraiser. Let's fund pediatric cancer research. And because people will do more, they'll feel more connected when it's already something personal for them. So whether it's someone who got involved because they heard your story, or they knew Sarah, or for whatever reason, or they like clay shooting, whatever that hook is, then they experience the event, then they have fun, then they want to come back, then they realize that they are doing important things.
Yeah.
And I think it's so cool to hear Bob talk about seeing that real time, because I think we see it on the other side as well too.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I think one of the other things that I'd be interested to hear about is you've kept your momentum going for so long, and that's who you are. When you make a promise, you're going to keep a promise. But how do you avoid what we would call like burnout or overextending yourself? How do you keep it in a lane that it still feels like fulfilling and not like a burden?
Well, as we move forward, Cannonball Kids helps with that, meaning getting the people who have the same passion you do to accomplish what, regardless of how, but to accomplish something, that takes a load off, because I'm not trying to convince people.
Yeah.
I've got someone who actually has done it, participated, and is succeeding. And so I can step back. I can actually step back and say, let them handle this. Let them handle what we do with it. But you just come and have fun, and you come back next year and hear how much more we've done, that because you contributed to it. And then let's keep doing that every year until we'll have a clay shoot for something entirely different, because cancer's gone. So that would be the ultimate goal, is to eliminate cancer. That was her ultimate goal.
Yeah.
Sarah's ultimate goal is to get rid of cancer, period.
Yeah, we always are happy to tell people we'd love to be out of a job.
Right.
There's always another mission.
Right.
But until this one's gone, there's no other one I want to go fight for.
Mm-hmm.
So we got to work ourselves
Right.
out of it, for sure.
I think I said that to somebody last week, because they were like, oh, I want to make sure I'm not stepping on your toes. I was like, I don't care. Step on my toes. Cure cancer. I'll find something else to do.
Yes.
We'll be fine. That's great.
There's always another job. If
There is.
there was some, miracle breakthrough.
Mhm.
For sure. For sure.
I think what I maybe would like to know is, what haven't we asked you about that you would like to tell us? Anything? Is there any sort of burning thing we want to talk about, or something for the clay shoot that you'd like to see, us maybe take to the next level, or where can we go moving forward?
I don't know that it's asking you. I think it's us. It would be great if we could make it as a given to more people that they're going to show up. I mean, I've shared with you where people have said, I saw something, I've heard this. Can you get me the information? Mm-hmm. That's really what I'd like to see a lot more of. I'd like to this year only, because I want to be bigger next year. But this year, I'd like to see both of our what do we call it?
Both courses.
Both courses, yeah. Mm-hmm. Both courses filled, and then some if we could. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how that part. I don't know how to get out. All I can do is antagonize and pester. and if you point me in the right direction, I'll go there and do so. But I would like it to be. There's major events in the state all the time, and people get to know them, and so they make a plan to go to these major events, especially in the industry that I'm in. And so I would like it to be one of those things that they say, well, okay, when do we, where have we put the money aside for this? Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that be on everybody's list to say, we put the money aside for this, and then let them evaluate. I can tell you that when you look at all the things, it's not really the thing that you're looking at, it's the results of the thing that you're trying to help. Mm-hmm. And there's big organizations, and they do a lot, but this is focused, this is specific. And so I don't want to say so it's easier to explain your accomplishments by doing these, because instead of the broad, right. Instead of the broad cure cancer, you're doing research as a key, and you're doing all your independent groups that would never have had the opportunity to prove that they can do what they say they're going to do until you all got involved and helped them financially to prove themselves. So I got off track.
No, that's the perfect track. So this year's clay shoot is at the OK Corral in Okeechobee, Florida. And like you say, there are 2 courses. There is room for everyone. It's
course.
So
they
beautiful.
Can come from out of state because we got
you can fly in, fly out.
Fly in. There's an airstrip, and you can stay on property. Right. We did that last year. It's gorgeous.
Yeah, so it is a really great thing. It's on Friday, October 25th. You can make a whole weekend in Okeechobee, or you can get in, get out. We're averaging about $100,000 a year with this event, and we want, as I know, you want more. But it's amazing, and there's room for so many people because it's a huge facility there. So people can go on our website, cannonballkidscancer.org, and they can get information, and we've already got people signing up.
Registration is open.
Registration's open, so people can join the clay shoot for this year. And once you're in, we know you come back because we see the numbers.
Right. I agree.
So you got to come check it out. Come meet billion great people in the construction industry.
Even if you come for the shotgun.
Yes.
Or the raffles.
There's great raffles.
Awesome raffles.
Yeah. The food was great.
The food was great too.
Yeah. It was a good day.
Yeah. I didn't shoot. I enjoyed the day.
Yeah. I didn't shoot either, Bob.
Yes. But you can shoot, which is a huge part of the day. Right. Should you want to do what you're signing up for.
Yes.
But absolutely. That's, I think, where we can leave this for today. It's great, right?
Good.
So thank you to everyone for tuning in. We know it takes a lot to face this topic head on, and we appreciate you joining us and making a commitment to be part of our fight. So until next time, I'm Dana Nichols.
I'm Val Solomon.
And this is Bob Szafranski.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining our fight.
Join us as we transform fear into courage and turn adversity into opportunities for change.
If you want to be involved in the conversations that create change in the world of pediatric cancer, take a moment, share, like, and subscribe.